So if he's fussing and we think he's not hungry, then we're first going to swaddle him. The swaddle's always the first S. He was packaged with his hands at his face. That's how he was in the womb. And with the womb close to him, his hands never got far from his face. But now with a small baby, they're not able to coordinate as he coordinates his hands to his mouth. But often they're kind of like looking for their hands, but they can't coordinate them. He's doing very well, actually. So we swaddle them with their hands by their face, which is where he can actually put his hands in his mouth and soothe with his hands. So I kind of hold his elbows by his body and hold his hands, and then use the stretchy fabric. It's got to be stretchy, can't be a muslin. And we go round his wrists to the other shoulder. They often fuss a little as you're swaddling them, which makes parents think that they don't like the swaddle. And it's true that they don't like being swaddled, but once they are swaddled, you can see I keep the tension all the way around. It must be tight enough that he can't get his arms out, but obviously that he can breathe nicely. So it is quite a firm swaddle, and that's why stretchy fabric's got to be used. Here we go. Now he's got his hands packaged where they can soothe him. The swaddle itself doesn't calm him, but it just makes him feel held like he's back in the womb, and it means that the other S's are much more effective. So then the second S is the side or stomach position. He's upright and forward. He's against your body. It's a burping position. So when you're feeding him in the middle of the night, you don't have to first burp him and then start trying to put him down. You can actually do the settling, do the 5 S's, because the second S is a burping technique. I'm doing it instinctively, but just to show you what I'm doing here is to bend that outside leg. When they're upset, they tend to arch and go all stiff like that. And if you just bend the one leg, the whole body relaxes. I just tuck that bottom in as well. And that kind of gets them into that relaxation reflex. It relaxes their whole body. And he can burp nicely because he's upright and forward, and he can fart nicely as well. And then I put my hands together so it's relaxing for your shoulders. So that's the second S, and you only do as many S's as you need. So now he's still a bit fussy, so we need another S. So that's when we do the swiggle. And the swiggle, it's a jiggly kind of movement. It's not a sway or a swing. It's got to be a jiggle. And if he's very fussy, then I do some squats. So that kind of movement really just calms him down. And then if he's still fussy, which he's not, but let's pretend he is, then we do the suck. So to get him to take the dummy, it's just a little tease, tickle until he roots. And then when he opens his mouth, you just jiggle the dummy. Don't force it in. We don't want him gagging. So you just kind of jiggle the dummy. And that kind of, usually the movement of the dummy in his mouth, I can't really see what I'm doing. That movement of the dummy in his mouth stimulates his sucking reflex. So we're just like messing with his reflexes. He can't really help himself. So the sucking and the rooting reflex is to get him taking the dummy. And then I'm still pulling on the dummy a little bit, because if I pull on it, he'll suck harder. And the harder he sucks, the quicker the winds come out the other end. It like acts as a conveyor belt. So if he's sucking at the top, then it gets the gut moving at the bottom as well, and he can bring up the winds. So that's 4 S's, and if he was still fussy, I would do the shushing as well. That's the 5th S. Shh. And invariably, by the time you've done the 5 S's for a few minutes, they're like putty in your hands. They should be.
Amazing.